Hi guys, my name's Caylin,
And I'm Chris.
and today we're going to answer some questions about the Salesforce Summer 20 releases. For those of you who don't know, Chris is our marketing expert and has been with MK Partners for a couple of years now and knows everything there is to know about Salesforce. You've probably seen him in some of our other videos, such as last week's Great Places to Work certification unboxing video. If you haven't seen that video yet, you should go check it out. With all that being said, Chris, why don't you tell us a little bit about Salesforce releases in general? Like, what are Salesforce releases?
Sure. So Salesforce, as you know, is a software as a service, platform as a service. So you pay a regular license fee and have access to the platform instead of like a Microsoft Word or the way Photoshop used to be, where it was every year you had to go buy the latest and greatest because you're always on the same platform. Instead of making a new version and releasing it every year, they just do updates. So 3 times a year, there are Salesforce releases that'll be full of changes, updates, upgrades, new features, and so there's a summer, a spring, and a winter release every year. In the weeks leading up to that release, they'll post the release notes that show you here's what's changing, here's the new features, here's how to learn them and practice. And then when they finally get to your org, you have all of these cool new things to play with. So,
Right.
yeah. So every 3 times a year when the release notes come out, it's usually a lot of reading for people to do. So we try to go through, pick out the things that we're most excited about, and then share those to save you some of the legwork.
That's wonderful. I mean, good for us.
Yeah.
So what features have been released this summer?
So the summer release finally hit orgs last weekend. Had a bunch of cool stuff in it. The Lightning experience works on iPads now. They changed the way that links work in formula fields, so you can actually trigger people to land in the right spot. Some big improvements with how opportunity splits work. Big deal alerts is also going to be, a boon to sales departments. They added the ability to share CSS styles across web components, which is going to save graphics departments and admins a bunch of time. And they also did a bunch of improvements to communities. So now Salesforce communities are going to look more modern, function more like you expect a website to function in 2020.
Perfect. So I'm going to ask you just a little bit about some of those topics, not all of them. So why don't you start off by telling me about opportunity splits? What are they?
Sure. So opportunity splits, if you have a sales program that involves multiple people on the same deal. So let's say you're selling software and you have a salesperson who's in charge of doing the conversations, getting contracts signed, but you also have a technical person who's in charge of running demonstrations, showing people the nitty gritty. Maybe you have a legal department involved in contracting, and they all have their own individual metrics to, determine how well they're doing their job or how successful the year was. If they all work on the same project, and that opportunity, let's say it's $1 million project, you don't want to give each of them credit for closing $1 million deal because you didn't make $3 million, you made $1 million. So you need to figure out what % of that revenue belongs to each person so they can get rewarded correctly for the work they did. Opportunity splits let you do that. So you can say, hey, here's our opportunity. It's $1 million. 25% of that credit goes to the technical demoer, 25% goes to the sales team, 10% goes to legal, 25% goes to marketing. And that way you can see what's responsible for generating the revenue more accurately.
Nice. So how is this update different from previous ones?
Yeah, so it used to be that you could only do 3 custom splits. The new change allows you to do up to 6 custom splits. So it gives you more granularity, more accuracy in managing your revenue data like that and making sure that people's metrics accurately reflect the effort they put in. It also still has the default revenue and overlay splits built into Salesforce. So really it's a tool not necessarily to make the lives of the sales team easier, but a tool to give management more insight and to make the data and metrics that you're paying to access more valuable to you as a company.
Wow, that's great. I honestly feel like I could have used this in high school or college during
Yeah,
group projects.
yeah, exactly. Teachers can use it so that the grades can be divvied up appropriately based on how many paragraphs you contributed to the paper.
Right? Oh, man. So I'm going to change the subject, but tell me what's going on with community improvements.
Yeah, so communities, as you probably know, Salesforce lets you roll out communities, whether it be for clients or the public or internally. But anytime you want a tool that can bring users together, give them access to relevant information, guide them through a process, etc., that's what Salesforce communities are for. They are, typically web facing or public facing in a lot of cases, and they used to at least look very much like Salesforce, which is super helpful for people that are comfortable with Salesforce. But most companies want their online presence to match their branding, their styling, to feel like it's part of the whole as opposed to a thing that was added on to accomplish something. So with communities, they added in summer 20 multi-level navigation. So that's going to give you more of a modern feel where, if you're a retail store, you can have categories and subcategories. So show me clothes, show me jackets, now show me down jackets, as opposed to having sort of that endless menu of the early web where it was, here's every single category we've blocked out, good luck. Now you can do sets and subsets. There's also a bunch of changes to the navigation menus, tile menus, and the CMS collections. So it's basically all built around giving companies at this point more control over the appearance and functionality in their communities, making everything more modern. So as you can see on the screen, the improved tile menu gives you the ability to personalize the menu to a specific audience. So if you have a community that's used by both your internal team and external clients, say it's somebody has an issue they need support with, they got an item and it arrived damaged. As a customer logging on, you know that I should have access to, was there an issue with your order? Do you need to make a return? As a internal employee responding to support cases, I don't need those options to file my own case. I need to show me what cases are open, show me which issues I can respond to today. And so it lets you personalize the experience based on the user, as opposed to dumping everybody into the same sandbox and saying, introduce yourself, sort it out,
Yeah, perfect. So I know that only covered the surface of the community improvements, and I saw some other features for developers, such as the experience bundle and build your own LWC template. Where can people find out more about these particular features?
Yeah, so the release notes are posted a couple weeks before the release goes live in preview orgs. So when you have, ideally, you have your production environment where everybody works, but you also have your sandbox where you test out new things. And those sandboxes will get the releases ahead of time, so you can try to build things there before you roll them into production. And the release notes will be released a few weeks before those previews go live. And we'll put a link in the description here, but it's just release notes.docs.salesforce.com. And you can go through the release notes for every release for the last however many years. But once you land on Salesforce Summer 20, it's broken down with, here's changes to Salesforce overall, here's changes to Salesforce Sales Cloud specific, Marketing Cloud specific, Community Cloud specific. So it is fairly easy to navigate once you know what you're interested in, once you know what you're looking for, and you can just click through and read about what's coming.
Perfect. That should help everyone, honestly. I also saw that the big deals alerts feature has finally been moved to Lightning.
Yep.
Can you tell everyone how they can access that?
Yeah. So big deal alerts is an easy way to set up email notifications once opportunities reach a threshold of probability and value. So let's say you have a company policy where anytime it's a deal over 100K, it has to get a special review from the legal department because there are rules about deals that size, say. You don't want your sales reps every time they're putting in an opportunity to also have to remember, like, oh, let me email legal because this is a big deal. Or let's say it's every time a deal gets to about to close, then something needs to go off to invoicing so they can get everyone into their payment system. Big deal alerts lets you set it up so that once an opportunity hits the threshold amount and the probability to close, those emails go out automatically. And it's a super helpful feature. It used to involve bouncing back and forth between Classic to set it up, which is always a bummer. But now you can do it right from the setup page, right in Lightning. Just type in Big Deal Alert in the quick search bar there, go down to Big Deal Alerts, and then you set the threshold amount, set the probability, and tell it who you want to email. You can put whatever you want in the body of the email there, and they'll start going out automatically.
Great. So, and the last topic or set of questions I have is around CSS Styles. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So CSS styles, are the way modern web pages present fonts, their styling, spacing, everything else. And with Lightning Web Components, we've long been able to use CSS to create individual style parameters so that the components look the way that you want them to, function the way that you want them to. And typically it's involved applying those CSS styles to every new component you make, which can be difficult because you want everything in your org to match. You want it to look good. You want your users to be able to immediately recognize common themes and common functionality. So what admins used to have to do is typically keep a folder somewhere on their computer of CSS styles they've used on other components so they could copy and paste it and apply it every time they built a new one. Or, open up the existing component, copy and paste the styling. And it was a function that people, obviously want to use the same style across multiple things. People were doing their own workarounds for it. And so Salesforce finally gave us the ability to just apply a CSS style to all Lightning components. So I can share styles from one component straight to the other. I don't need to worry about copying and pasting, accidentally making a typo, trying to track down where the issue is. It's a fix it once, use it every time solution. So it's going to be a huge time saver for admins, big time saver for whoever was in charge of doing the styling before. And it should make it easier for like the graphics or the design or the branding department to be more involved with the Salesforce administration, because instead of reaching out to them every time you're building a new component and saying, hey, does this look good? Does this look good? You can ask your branding department to give you guidelines for a template component and then apply that everywhere.
Perfect. So this is going to help roles such as your own.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm excited about it because it makes my life easier.
Yeah, this is a great feature for you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Chris, for explaining everything and answering these questions. For those of you who want more information about Salesforce Summer 20 releases and these specific topics, you can always check out Chris's blog, Creme de la CRM, on Medium. Additionally, make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for more MK Partners content.
Thanks, Caylin.
Thanks, Chris.